Grave Digger Queen here. I have a tale for you tonight. Picture this, children. You at home, eating a bowl of cereal, and hark, who goes there by the door? Some asshole with a gun or something, and he's trying to get into your house. Terrifying. Well, not necessarily for me. I enjoy intruders. Smashing heads on rocks, well, it's sort of a pastime of mine. So by all means, do intrude. Let's treat it like Texas. So I guess the blasting. Tonight's tale is called My Last Kitchen Knife by Montsho Shelby. Māori was down to her last kitchen knife. She had no idea where they all went off to. The only explanation she could see was that she was losing them in the dishwasher somehow. This answer didn't make sense to her, but neither did her losing kitchen knives in the first place. It had to be the kids taking them. To do what with, she could not say. So she decided that she was going to hold on to the last kitchen knife so she had at least one to make dinner with. If these blades didn't turn up soon, she was going to have to bite the bullet and get a new set. An odd alien sound bumped throughout her house. It was the dead of night and she was alone. Mark and the boys were not home and wouldn't be until tomorrow night. So what on earth could be making such a racket? Though she hoped not to use it, she couldn't deny she did have a decent-sized knife in her hand by sheer luck. So anything that may or may not creep up on her would be in for a surprise. Māori moved up the stairs, but heard footsteps moving slowly down, stalking her. She opted to hide in the coat closet because this was more than likely an intruder. She kicked herself for coming down to the kitchen without her phone. But this was not the type of scenario that one ever saw themselves entering. If she ran for the door, chances were good that she would be heard and chased down, killed, maybe raped. If she was going to get out of this, she was going to have to be quiet and calm. She cracked the closet door and saw two figures sneaking their way into the kitchen. She felt rather confident that they didn't hear her move, so it may be okay if she got a little closer and saw exactly what she was dealing with. Making cautious, silent steps, she saw a man holding a bat, more than likely a man, and a woman with a gun guarding his back. Māori slipped back into the kitchen to the door and attempted to open it, but it held fast. She couldn't find the keys that were always next to the door. There was a second exit she may be able to manage through the dining room sliding doors. There was always a key next to the Buddha statue. If she could get to it, maybe she could avoid this thing altogether. She tiptoed into the dining room. To her shock and surprise, the Buddha statue wasn't there. Perhaps she couldn't see in the darkness. Perhaps these home invaders had already taken it and set it aside somewhere. She tried to push open the sliding door regardless, but predictably it didn't move. Māori wanted to be angry, but a part of her was relieved that her house was secure enough that she couldn't get into it without keys. She heard the two intruders talking softly to one another. While she couldn't make out their every word from this distance, she distinctly heard, maybe it was nothing, which meant that maybe she could slip away when their guards were completely down. And it also told her they didn't know she was in the house to begin with. The two robbers, who she now felt were a couple, entered the dining room briefly. She slunk behind a curtain. Its bulge would be obvious if they turned on the lights, and she'd more than likely be shot to death before she was hit in the face with the bat. She saw the two in silhouette, held her breath, and clutched her knife harder. They walked past her without a second thought, and she silently exhaled. The two intruders slowly walked back up the steps. She could hear them enter the master bedroom. Now was her time. She could find a window and escape, even if she couldn't reach her keys, which were in the room they were currently in. She went to the front room once again to find a window that she could unlock, but she heard something coming from upstairs that chilled her to the bone. She heard movement coming from the boys' room. Māori didn't expect them to be home, let alone up at this time of night. She took a deep breath, knowing that she couldn't leave now. She absolutely couldn't chance them moving on to the next room over and killing her boys. She crept up the stairs, most likely to her doom. But in the moment, this was the only sane thing she could think to do. She breathed out. Her heart beat loudly. She eased open her bedroom door, and the two invaders had made themselves at home. They were bathed in the blue lights of television. This was a slap in Maori's face, a brazen mark of disrespect of the highest order. These two were so at home that they decided they were just going to live her life. The two weren't making any aggressive moves, but so it could be said about a spider that lie in wait. She thought to go to the boys' room and get them out. But if and she did, she couldn't guarantee they'd be absolutely in sync with sneaking out of the house enough to actually do it. Maori couldn't risk it. She had the drop on these two, and if she didn't press the advantage, she may never get it again. As silently as the shadow of death, Maori cracked open the door. She stalked them. It had to be this way. They'd show her no mercy, so she couldn't show them any. Maori pounced from the darkness. The subtle flashes of the television's light created a strobing effect, immortalizing the ghastly deed in still frames. The woman made a gurgling scream. A spout of brilliant red blood sprayed the room. The man cried out and scrambled to his bat, which was out of arm's reach. "Oh my fucking God!" was his last words before the kitchen knife pierced his flesh, ripping him apart savagely. Maori breathed heavily, not stopping the violent thrusting until her body could no longer do so. She was soaked in abstract patterns of red. She began to cry uncontrollably from the intensity of her deeds. Suddenly the lights turned on. "Mom? Dad?" said the voice of a young teen. When Maori looked at what she had done with full clarity, she saw a man and a woman in their pajamas. This wasn't her house. She looked over to the scared child. This was not her child. Where was she? The child screamed as if he had seen the devil, but in all honesty, perhaps he had. I don't know, stop screaming, it's okay," Maori said nearly as hysterically as the child. She stepped away from the orgy of blood and charged towards the child. "Stop screaming, it's okay," she said violently. She couldn't think straight with that howling. She needed to make it stop. When she took a step towards the boy, he took 2 steps back and attempted to run. Maori was faster. She screamed like an angry spirit and stabbed the boy in the back. When she looked down at the disaster she made, she released the knife. She couldn't have done this. It wasn't real. Maori found herself in the kitchen making breakfast. She yelled up the stairs for Mark and the boys to come down. Her 2 boys entered the kitchen along with Mark, who were wiping the sleep from their eyes. "Morning," said Maori to her family. They all regarded her with love. "Hey, I need you guys to look at this," Maori said, making a sweeping gesture to the kitchen counter. "I don't see anything," said Roger, her youngest. "How about now?" she said, picking up an empty wooden knife holder, which had 6 in a set. "There aren't any knives," said Buck, her oldest. "Yes, there aren't any knives. What are you 2 doing with all these knives?" Maori accused. "It wasn't us." "We don't have any reason to take them." "Well, they didn't up and walk away," Maori spoke. "Mark, are you using some of these knives for some reason?" said Maori. "No, honey, I didn't." "Have you been getting any sleep? Maybe you just misplaced them," Mark said casually. "1, sure, maybe 2, but not 6. Someone here is clearly messing with me," she accused. "Did you get any sleep? Maybe you're so tired you forgot." "No, Mark, I had an Ambien and I've been asleep all night." "Where'd you sleep? It wasn't upstairs with me," Mark explained. Maori shrugged and furrowed her brow. Someone was clearly gaslighting her. Nice! What a tale. If I'm being honest, I do believe Ambien will cause the next zombie apocalypse. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't remember the other ones because everybody died. I've said too much. I don't want to scare you any further. But I will leave you with this, children. Next time you pop a pill, we might just be in the next Walking Dead. Night.